What's up, my wargaming friends? We are here to talk about 40K, and we're going to talk about orcs specifically. So, unless you've been sleeping under a rock or a squig or somewhere else, you should know that this coming Saturday is going to be the release of Speed Freaks, the Ork Codex, and a few other boxes, as well as in the coming weeks we're going to see 4 more vehicles come out for Warhammer 40K Orks that are also going to be compatible with Speed Freaks. I think those are going to be $40 to $45 a piece. We'll go over some of the quick highlights from the Warhammer communities and some of what they've revealed so far of the Ork Kulturs. So we're on Wednesday. Had to do a day check here. So they've released 3 of the Ork Klan Kulturs so far, and I want to get your feedback on which ones you're most hyped about. I think they're still holding out on Speed Freaks on us, and I don't know Ork lore well enough to know what other culture they may be holding out on. But so far we've got Bad Moons, we've got the Goths, and we've got the Snake Bites. And then, of course, we've got some of the general Ork rules and stratagems. So let's go ahead and dive into those, and we'll try to make this video somewhat short and sweet, so that way you guys can get back to your daily lives. So with the Orks, we've got some really awesome stuff coming out. Let's go to Warhammer Community's website. They say it's the Codex you've all been waiting for. And I'll say, admittedly, that I hadn't been overly excited about Orks until they started talking about them. But I did already look at a spam list for Kill Team. So Kill Team is something I'm looking at picking up. And these guys have got to be probably the cheapest and cheesiest mob you can pick up for Kill Team. So if you're looking at running something stupid in Kill Team, you could run 19 Grots and then one big bad mother-loving Ork War Boss with them, because you'd have quite a bit of points left over after picking up 19 Grots. But there's a max of 20 models in a Kill Team list. I'm not saying it would be competitive, but it sure would be fun as heck to see them all there. So finally picked up some of these, and I figured with Orks becoming fun and popular these days, at least they'll be the army in fashion for the next week or so. You know, they're worth picking up. Also picked up for Adeptus Titanicus the Warhound Scout Titans, so those will be fun to put together, but I better finish putting together my Reaver Titan that I only put the legs together at first so far. So let's dive in. Even though it's the Codex that we've all been waiting for, let's take a look at the main rule. So that was DACA. And this is something that makes Orks, who have inherently a really horrible 5+ ballistic skill, all of a sudden not that bad at shooting short or long range. So the general rule, you guys probably already know this for DACA, is that any unmodified hit roll of 6 for an attack with a ranged weapon made by a model in this unit, so that's everybody, not only succeeds regardless of any modifiers, so whether your opponent's in cover, whether they've got some type of psychic powers buffing them, any other special abilities, Altiok, anything like that, a 6 is going to hit them. So that's awesome, because the Orks already only pretty much hit on a 5+. I know there's some variances to that and stuff. So this pretty much means that instead of hitting only 1 out of 3 times, or having modifiers make it nigh impossible for them to hit some targets, 6 is always going to hit. In addition to that, you get to roll an additional hit. You get to make an additional hit roll for every unmodified 6. So if somebody's modifying you back to 6s, so what? Now all of a sudden you just need 6s again on additional rolls. So that makes Orks, especially with their mobs, because you don't take you typically don't take small numbers of Orks. You're taking mobs of 20, 30 boys in a squad. Good luck gluing, painting, and buying all that stuff. It's like the Imperial Guard all over again, but Orks are way meatier, and we're going to find out that rule carries on to all the Orks. So any of the other clan cultures that we're going to discover here are going to be bonuses on top of that. And let's take a look at what I'd have to admit so far is my favorite of the 3 revealed Ork clan cultures, and that's for the Goths. So previously, Goths weren't necessarily on my radar. They are the big, the bad, the bold of the Ork armies. But I tend to gravitate more towards the Speed Freaks, that red paint job, because red's faster. But apparently, the Goths are the toughest. Gazkul Thraka is, of course, a Goth war boss, and he's probably more machine than he is Ork at this point. But here is the Goths clan culture. So this is like a chapter tactic or other similar things that we've seen in all the other codexes. I mean, every codex is out by now, right? Aside from anything unforeseen at this point. So it says that each time you roll an unmodified hit roll of 6 for an attack with a melee weapon, so this is a very good complement. You already have DACA just being Orks, so unmodified rolls of 6 on shooting. The Goths get an unmodified roll of 6 for an attack weapon, a melee weapon, immediately make an additional hit roll against the same target using the same weapon, and these hits cannot generate more hits themselves. So it doesn't say that, you know, if for some reason something made it harder to hit than a 6, that, you know, 6 is the best you'll get. But basically, if you're a Goth, 6 is just, whether you're shooting or fighting in melee, are just going to generate more hits, or more hit dice. So that's just insane. And then you have their Ork stratagem. This is good for anybody. For 2 command points, you could basically put a unit that's 20 power rating or less in reserves, and then just teleport them on the battlefield. It could even be turn 1, because it doesn't say. It says basically at the start of any movement phase, there it is, movement phases, set them up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away as normal. If you use the stratagem on a transport, all units embarked inside remain in it, and when you set them up. So you can't like set them up and then set the mob up outside of a truck or what have you. Also crazy that you could teleport a truck. So that's to be said. Now here's a good one. This is Scars only. This is a Scars only stratagem. It's 1 command point. I think you're going to see it being used multiple times if allowed. And the reason I would use it multiple times is that use this on a select Goth boys unit. So you can't use it on Ard boys. That would be way too broken. But it increases that strength of that unit by to 5. So basically it increases it by 1. I don't know if there were any instances where Orks had strength of 3 and would go to 5, but because it doesn't say it lets you use Grots, it specifically has to be Goth boys. So I'm assuming the Codex will specify that. But that unit can only use the mob up stratagem to merge with other units of Scar boys, meaning other units that you use that stratagem on. So have a 30 Ork mob, 1 command point, up those guys to strength 5. If you're allowed to use this this stratagem again on another mob of 30, then that's 2 command points at the start of the battle, before the battle begins, that you've just created 2 giant mobs of strength 5 Orks that are also, because they're Goths, are also going to get additional hits on 6s in melee. So this is going to be a basically an army breaker there. And if you could imagine tides coming in, if with the right command points, maybe you could throw that down three or more times. Again, I don't know if that's something that's going to be limited, but that just seems to be very strong. My least so far, and probably most people's least favorite clan culture so far, at least I would just make that assumption, is snake bites. So this is more of the backwards, like the what did you call those? Savage Ork boys, that sort of stuff. They ride boars instead of bikes, or you could modify them in any sort of way to kind of fit that backwards culture. So basically they're getting a 6+ feel no pain, which isn't to be dismissed, but I think the offensive strategy, the offensive clan cultures are a lot more useful, especially you know, pretty much all game long, as opposed to a defensive stratagem of 6+. But let's hear your thoughts in the comments. I'd like to see what you guys think of that. Their stratagem, it would be okay if you're going up against a lot of like Tyrannid Hive Tyrants, or you know, anything that's got 10 or more wounds. But you're not going to find a lot of those things out there. There are of course plenty out there when it comes to Lehman Russ, things like that. But they add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made against them. That's not bad, but it's 3 command points to use that stratagem on a single unit. I'm not really feeling it myself. If you guys haven't checked out by now, the Rucka Truck Squig Buggy. It's not only a weird word to say like rubber baby buggy bumpers, but it actually seems to be an entertaining type of vehicle that can lay down squig mines, and also has the heavy squig launcher. When you take a look at it, especially factoring in that Orks always hit on unmodified 6, you have an assault 2d6 weapon with 36-inch range if you're launching biosquigs. So there's 3 different squigs, like 3 different ammunitions you use. And it says it wounds on a 4+, unless it's targeting a vehicle or Titanic unit, in which case it only wounds Titanic units on a 6, which still isn't bad. But you could be hitting some high toughness non-vehicle or non-Titanic units with this. No AP, but a lot of those bigger things like the Tyrannid have, you know, semi-decent armor saves. You're not going to find a lot of those with 2+. So being assault 2d6, that's not all that bad. Then you have the Bitey Squigs. That's an assault 2 weapon, strength 5, AP -3, 2 damage. Not too bad. The Boom Squig, assault 2d3, so assuming it's possibly like an explosion. And then a little bit of armor penetration, and of course die 3 damage, which would be good for taking out some of those tougher models, like the Golden Banana Boys back here, Emperor's Golden Banana Boys back here, Adeptus Custodes. So I don't know why sometimes these. Now I struggle with some of these names. Like I still call the Eldari in the craft world, whatever you call them, Eldar. I still like the non-intellectual property names. When they come out with these weird ones, it's like I got to learn how to speak all over again sometimes. So previewing the Weird Boy. Some of you guys might be really entertained. Here's the last one we're going to go over. It's the clan focus Bad Moons. These are of course the bright yellow guys that'll be on a lot of battlefields, especially when we check out their clan culture. So their clan culture is armed to the teeth, and this is going to be very complementary with Daka. So some people may like the Goths because Goths are going to be tougher and they're going to have a lot of melee focus, going to be great for those Slugga and Choppa orc mobs. But this is going to be good for the Shuda armed mobs and the big Shuda armed mobs and stuff like that. The orcs that, believe it or not, may try to stand and shoot you because they believe they can. But this is reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by models with this culture in the shooting phase. So those rerolled 1s could potentially then become a 6 unmodified, which could then generate more hits. So it's slim. That's like a 1 in 36 chance. But of course, that's potentially something that could happen there. So that's what you're going to see a lot of people take it. Now, super stoked to see the Stompa come back. I thought years ago that this model was going to go out of production, but it definitely seems to be available still. It's gigantic, especially if you're used to seeing Imperial Knights on the battlefield. It's still very lofty in size, very girthy, and it's got some great weapons and great special rules, but of course, it's also hindered by the fact it shoots like an orc. So the Stompa crew is going to help keep it alive, and this has an insane number of wounds, 40. So 40, basically meaning it's going to have about twice as many wounds as an Imperial Knight. But on top of that, you've got Grot Riggers. These are the little Gretchen that are climbing all over it. And it says, the models can attempt repairs at the end of your movement phase. If they do so, roll a d6. On a 2+, the model regains d3 lost wounds, and a model can only be repaired once per turn. That's crazy. It says, or the close combat attacks, a couple extra go a long way when you're hitting at strength 20 with its Mega Chopper. So yeah, I think that's the strongest weapon in the game. It's also probably one of the biggest models made by Games Workshop, not Forge World, so it's going to be insane. It does have a weapon skill of 3+ and 6 attacks for such a large vehicle. I want to see more of these on the battlefield. Plus, I love anything that makes me feel like I could paint it with a spray can, a rattle can. I don't do airbrush. That's my my backwoods airbrush, my country airbrush, whatever you want to call that there. The Morkanaut, of course, is coming in, not so bad. I like the big bulky orc stuff. Plus, when you put big point things on the battlefield and you're playing orcs, it saves you from having to paint up an insane number of orc boys. And orc boys actually tend to be a little bit more difficult for me to paint compared to some of the other orcs and orc vehicles. Like Killicans are super easy, Death Dreads are super easy. Anything with those flat, two-dimensional type surfaces that look like they've been made in Junkyard Wars. But let me hear your thoughts about orcs. How many of you followers are going to be picking them up? And let's see what your thoughts are on them. Of course, we've got a couple more days here of the Ork Klan Kulturs coming out. So Speed Freaks, maybe they're going to one-up each other. Maybe Speed Freaks is going to be bigger than the Goths. Maybe some of you guys thought Bad Moons is a better clan culture than the Goths in general. Of course, the Goth stratagem is just insane. Did they preview a Bad Moon stratagem? I don't think they did. So, but presumably there's going to be stratagem specific to the different Ork clans. So yeah, comment below, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed. We are chugging along here at Budget Wargamer, so stay tuned.